Mother dies with baby in her womb, but husband does something incredible. When Melanie and Doug Pritchard were getting ready to give birth to their first child, they looked for a doctor who would, if need be, battle to save both Melanie and their unborn child's life. They had no idea that their choice would determine everything that happened beyond that point. During Melanie's pregnancy with her second kid, everything appeared to be operating normally. When her contractions began at 39 weeks, she and Doug walked all the way to the hospital, where the doctor waited until the frequency and intensity of the contractions grew before breaking her water. That was the moment when everything began to go in the wrong direction. Melanie started to feel lightheaded and sick, and then she passed out, despite the fact that her vital functions were normal. Her blood pressure and heart rate both dropped to zero. She appeared to be completely pale. In a similar manner, the unborn child's heart rate and blood pressure dropped significantly. Melanie was pronounced clinically dead at the hospital, with the baby remaining inside her body at the time. An unexpected cesarean section was performed as the first step in the race to rescue the infant. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be inspired by these real-life stories on a daily basis. Now, let's return to the story. Doug prayed fervently that both his wife and daughter would be delivered from harm. He had never before experienced such hopelessness and terror in his life. The general content of his petition to God was as follows: Lord, I know that this is more than I can bear, which means you have a plan and a purpose to it all. I trust in you, but please, if it be thy will, let me hug my wife again. He reached out to his relatives and friends, pleading with them to pray for the well-being of Melanie and their daughter. As they spread prayer requests throughout other social media platforms, the topic immediately became popular. The Pritchards ranked among the top 100 topics that were being discussed on Google and Twitter on that particular day. In the span of 15 hours, more than 150,000 individuals came together to pray and share the news with the rest of the world. Thankfully, a group of doctors were able to save the baby, as another group attempted to resuscitate Melanie. Both of them were in critical condition. When the nurses asked Doug what he was going to call his new daughter, he responded with Gabriella, which means heroine of God. For the first 10 minutes, Melanie was thought to be dead. They tried using a defibrillator 4 times, in addition to continuous chest compressions, but they were unsuccessful. It was recommended that her family get themselves ready to say their goodbyes. At long last, a doctor observed that the patient had a slow heartbeat. After Melanie's water broke, she suffered from a condition known as amniotic fluid embolism, which is caused by the presence of amniotic fluid that enters the bloodstream. Because it reached her heart, she suddenly fell into cardiac arrest as a result. Because she had a cesarean section, she also suffered from internal hemorrhage. Due to the fact that she'd been without oxygen for more than 10 minutes, the doctors informed Doug that it was likely that she would have neurological difficulties for the rest of her life. Doug walked over to the bed where Melanie was being kept alive by machinery, grasped her hand, and then said, "I love you. I will never stop loving you. Both Brady and Gabriella are beautiful children who have a lot of love for you. Fight for what you believe in and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Make a vow to me that you will, in spite of my expectations, always go in the direction that your guardian angel suggests. The direction in which it leads you is the one in which God needs you to go." However, the situation became even more dire. Melanie was moved to a different hospital after requiring 2 blood transfusions and being moved there herself. An artery had been damaged during the emergency cesarean section, and coagulated blood had caused veins to become blocked. This necessitates a more careful surgical procedure. Only 5% of the heart's potential was being utilized, whereas 55 to 65% is the bare minimum required for survival. Her lungs stopped working as a result of the cardiac arrest, and a fan was the only thing that kept her alive by providing all of her breathing for her. The doctors showed her a picture of Gabriella to help her be calm and collected during the procedure. When Melanie finally opened her eyes, she let forth a pitiful wail. She was put under general anesthesia before being taken to the operation room. It instilled a fresh sense of optimism throughout the family prayer. The surgery was a success, and Melanie miraculously recovered. The priest who had married Melanie and Doug years earlier visited the hospital and reminded Doug, "That's what you said yes to in marriage, in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health." Melanie's breathing started to improve approximately 24 hours after the surgery, at which point she was taken off the artificial ventilator. She opened her eyes and begged to see her husband and daughter as soon as she became fully conscious. After having a cesarean section and waiting for more than 48 hours, the nurses brought Gabriella so that she could finally hold her daughter for the first time. The nurses at Melanie's hospital were all taken aback by her quick recovery. 6 days after the unexpected event, she checked out of the hospital. She made a full recovery in the weeks that followed her initial hospitalization. Melanie wrote in her book many years later that despite the fact that she didn't recall a wonderful event that occurred in her life, she was thankful to be alive and to be able to embrace her husband and children every day. I'm thankful for each and every post that's been made on Facebook, Twitter, and articles that have been written and published on the internet. And I am especially grateful to those individuals who have prayed for me and encouraged others to pray for me. There aren't enough words in the language to explain how grateful I am for all the prayers that were said for me during this terrifying experience. I am overjoyed to report that the prayers were heard and answered. Gabrielle and I are both alive and doing well today, and I'm grateful to God for His mercy, as well as the hands of the doctors, nurses, and blood donors who helped save our lives. 4 years after the incident, she wrote an article with this statement: "There isn't a single day that goes by where I don't give thanks to the Lord for giving me the strength to endure something that very few people ever live to talk about. I give thanks to the Lord for putting it on my heart to pick a hospital that supports life. I give thanks to God for making it possible for Doug, Brady, Gabriella, and I to be together as a family once more, and for providing me with yet another chance to talk about the boundless grace, mercy, and love that God has for all of us. I give thanks to God that He's able to rescue us from the deepest depths of darkness, even the blackness of death, and bring us into the light, because He possesses this power." If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone else who might enjoy it as well. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.